As I mentioned in the prayer at the beginning of class, we're just, as a way of getting into this course with Apologetics, which I've also named Faith and Reason. Okay? Reason is what we use our minds to try to attain truth. Truth is a judgment that corresponds with reality, okay? Objective reality. And it's a Friday, yes. We talked about different levels of truth, of certitude, mathematical, logical, moral, empirical, religious certitude, and that religious certitude is the greatest certitude we have, actually, even though you can't prove it empirically, because God has revealed things to us about himself and the plan of salvation. God doesn't lie to us. It's the act of faith. I firmly believe all the truths your church has revealed because your church teaches, because you've revealed them, Lord, who can neither deceive nor be deceived. So we put faith in what God has revealed. And the important thing we have to realize is that we have to use our reason. And if we don't, things happen. I'm going to put something on the board here. Let's see. Resume. Okay. Now I have a little diagram to show here. I'll try and get out of this. Okay. This, I'm going to turn that off for a minute. Has anyone ever seen this painting?
No.
It's by Francisco Goya, and there is writing here on the lower left-hand side, and Goya was a Spaniard. That's the title of the painting. That's in Spanish. Some of you are Spanish speakers. El sueño, the sleep of reason, razón, produce monstruos. The sleep of reason produces monsters. Let our reason go to sleep, bad things will happen. And we have to use our reason. God gave us a reason to know him, to know the truth. I'm going to get something else up here now. To give you an example of how some people don't use their reason too well. Where's this? Does anyone know who Scarlett Johansson is?
Yes.
She's an actress. She's a good actress. I've seen her. She's talented. Okay? But this is an article, Scarlett Johansson Fails Logic. Okay? The shirt that she designed. Okay? Hey, politicians, the 1950s called, in the back, they want their sexism back. Okay? And the author of this article said, despite my esteemed background in high school drama, okay, I don't critique acting except for the water cooler. I don't have a clue what it takes to make a movie, do it well. I assume Scarlett Johansson does. She does. Okay. She's made a number of them. But clearly, Ms. Johansson doesn't do well with logic. She designed T-shirts for Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is the biggest promoter and doer of abortions in the country. They've been so for years. Anyone know who founded Planned Parenthood?
Wasn't it like on accident?
Who founded Planned Parenthood? Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger founded Planned Parenthood. Her idea was, stop having children, and especially the blacks. She says we have to convince the blacks and the undesirables, those who feeble-minded, just stop reproducing because it affects our human race. Anyway, Planned Parenthood has people on board with them like movie stars and actors and actresses. And Ms. Johansson designed this T-shirt for Planned Parenthood. And as the article says, and here's what she says. When I heard that some politicians were cheering the Supreme Court's decision to give bosses the right to interfere in our access to birth control, that's because the Supreme Court said that Hobby Lobby does not have to supply pills that kill. Okay? Hobby Lobby wasn't against contraception per se. Hobby Lobby was against the pills that can cause abortions. And the Supreme Court said you're not required under Obamacare to dispense this pill through your insurance. Well, other politicians are cheering the Supreme Court decision. As she says, some are doing this to give bosses the right to interfere in our access to birth control. I thought I had woken up in another decade, explained Johansson in the statement. Like many of my friends, I was appalled by the thought of men taking away women's ability to make our own personal health care decisions. Okay, now, stop there. Okay, what's wrong with that statement? What is wrong with her making that statement? So don't. Men who are, these men on the Supreme Court interfering with women and their health care decisions by the Supreme Court saying that we don't have to, through for instance, Catholic schools don't have to, through insurance, through the national insurance now, Obamacare is called, okay, National Health Care Act, we don't have to supply contraceptives if it violates our religious freedom. Okay. What's wrong with her statement saying that bosses are denying women their health care and their birth control? What would you say about this? How do you respond?
Well, I mean, they're not denying it. Can't they just go out and buy it?
Right! That's the whole point. Okay? A woman can go out and buy birth control. She wants to buy birth control. So, when people make statements like this, there's someone like her who's got voted on it. Okay, well, come on. Okay? It's like a guy complaining, well, gosh, the government, Catholics, if you work for a Catholic institution, they won't supply me condoms. So I'm being denied condoms. Isn't this an injustice? I mean, get real, will you? I mean, come on. People can go out and buy something if they want it, just because you want to force us, Catholic institutions, to supply this through insurance. That's what we're objecting to, because we think this is wrong. But what is on her mind? You could say, I don't know. Mr. Johansson, she's just got a different view of things, you could say. So, but people don't think rationally, okay? They're not using their reason. The sleep of reason produces monsters. And that's an example. Sorry. so handsome. If you ever watch this, you can email her maybe, tell her that I critique her, but I do so in a respectful manner. I mean, I just think that people should make arguments that are reasonable. Okay? When it comes to truth, okay, our mind, okay, does not create truth. Okay? If you think your mind creates the truth, that you are the sole source of truth, well then you're delusional. Sorry. Richard Dawkins, one of the premier physicists, he wrote a book, The God Delusion. He calls people who believe in God delusion. Well, he denies any religious truth or certitude. That agree from Mr. Dawkins. But when we're talking about truth, we're talking about objective truth versus subjective perceptions. Our mind doesn't create truth because our mind tries to attain truth. And those who have had me before are going to know, you'll recognize what I'm going to do right now. But you can write it in your notes again because it's worth writing. Okay? I'm going to draw 3 circles here. 1, 2, and 3. And those who have seen me do this before, what goes over here? Does anyone remember? Michael, do you remember?
I have no idea what this is. I
think you. I did this in class last
No, it's like even in your class, like halfway through the thing.
No, you came in like 2
Emma, you remember, of course. Okay. Well, here is objective truth. Objective meaning outside the mind. Okay. Outside the mind. For example, one God, okay, 3 persons. That's objective truth. There's one God, there's 3 persons in one God. Whether someone agrees with that or not doesn't change reality. Okay? Objective truth is also objective reality. Okay? Reality, truth. Okay? Reality, truth. Objective reality, objective truth. One God, 3 persons. So there are many objective truths out there. Yeah. Our minds try to attain the truth. God has revealed to us that He's one God of 3 persons. He's given us that information. Okay? So here's the realm of objective truth. This is just an example of what objective truth is. There's one God of 3 persons. Now we come to the next circle, and we have subjective perceptions of objective truth. Subjective perception. Now, subjective comes from subject, meaning the individual. Okay? We're all subjects. Subjective, individual perceptions of objective truth. How do you view God and other realities, okay? And also intersecting, because these are intersecting, that's important, okay? Here are our expressions, okay? Expressions of subjective perceptions of objective truth or reality. Okay? Now, what do I mean by expressions? Well, how people, in their subjective expressions, how people in their subjective perceptions express what they think truth is. And here, okay, we have, for example, okay, world religions. Like Hinduism, Buddhism, we have the Roman, Greek religions, okay? They had many gods. The Native American religions, okay? You can go down the list of things. Okay? Now, the world religions, these religions are different from our faith in a basic, essential fact. All these religions were creations, okay, or inventions, okay, called that, of the human mind. All of these are expressions of what people perceive to be objective truth. Hinduism is a religion with many gods. Buddhism is a non-theistic religion. It doesn't believe in a God. You are absorbed into the one, the nothingness. Okay? And Roman, Greek religions with many gods. Someone came along and invented these. They tried to, just design a system of belief. And the Native Americans, okay, they did the same thing. They're creations of the human mind. They're not revealed, okay? Not revealed. And they don't even claim to be revealed. The Buddha went out and saw suffering and tried to explain suffering through his religion, this system of belief. Hinduism, it varies throughout India. Different parts, they believe in different gods and goddesses. There's certain basic beliefs that they hold to, like the untouchables, okay, and reincarnation, that the soul is regenerated and you can come back as a flea or as an animal or as a human being, okay, Roman, Greek, but they're not revealed by God. Also, we would include under expressions of subjective perceptions of objective truth or reality, in addition to world religions, philosophies, okay. Different philosophers have tried to explain, truth. What is truth? Okay. You have Aristotle, Plato. Okay. You have the Stoics. Okay. You have utilitarians. What is good equals what is beneficial to most people. That's always the good. And so this is a way of explaining and differentiating between objective truth, reality, versus subjective perceptions. Because when it comes down to it, either this is true, one God in 3 persons, or one of these is true. They can't both be true. You can't be a believing Hindu and believe in one God in 3 persons. Why not? What does that violate? It violates a principle of reason, one of the fundamental principles of reason that I talked about last week. The principle of non-contradiction. I can't be a Christian and believe in the many gods, the thousands of gods of the Hindus. If you do, you're not in touch with reality, you're psychotic. If you think you can be a believing Hindu and believe in one God of 3 persons. Now, in addition to these two, I'll mention just a couple of more, okay, religions, okay, which are what I call hybrid religions. Okay. I'm going to just erase this here. for now because I need space. But under this is what I call hybrid religions. Hybrid because they're kind of a combination of the Christian religion and what someone made up. An example of this is Mormonism. Mormonism, Joseph Smith. I lived with the Mormons for 3 years in Nauvoo, and Joseph Smith put forth the idea that, well, there are many gods. Mormons are not Christians. They claim to be, they belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, but they're really not Christians in any sense of the word, because Mormons are polytheists. Polytheists meaning they believe in many gods. So they're polytheists. Polytheists, many gods. According to the Mormon belief, if you are a good male, you will have your own world to populate in the next life. And you'll have relations with many females and raise up new seeds for this new life on this new planet that you will be the god of. Okay? I don't know what women get. They get some consolation prize, but they don't get to be goddesses. They get something else in the Mormon scenario. Okay? Joseph Smith, according to the revelation he was given by St. Michael the Archangel, that's what he claims. Okay? Again, was this objective truth or subjective perception? I think it was demonic, really, if it really happened. He didn't make it up. Joseph Smith held that men could have many wives. That's why his religion appealed to people. And that's why he was run out of Illinois, because people didn't agree with this return to paganism. I don't think he had a limit on how many wives, but his belief was that men could take many wives. Isn't there a show on now about Mormons and something like the many wives? These guys have many wives, and okay. Well, another religion that's a hybrid, because Mormonism, Joseph Smith lifted things from the Christian Bible, from the King James Version, with its errors actually, and then combined his own things that he said the archangel told him, and that's what the Book of Mormon is. It's a hybrid of the Bible, okay, and what Joseph Smith said the archangel Gabriel revealed to him. Okay. So the whole religion is a hybrid religion. It's got some Christian things in there, but it's not really Christian, because as Christians we don't believe in many gods, we believe in one God. And another hybrid religion is Islam, and that's Muhammad. And Muhammad, like Joseph Smith, this was in the 600s, Muhammad claimed to have a revelation from an angel that told him that Jesus Christ is not God, that Jesus Christ is not the true and final prophet, that he, Muhammad, is the true prophet, okay, the last prophet, and that Jesus Christ, okay, is just a prophet, okay, before Muhammad. He's not God, okay? Not God. Jesus is not God. So that's what Muhammad believes. Allah is God. They believe in the one God, Muslims. There's only one God, that's Allah. But they deny the Trinity. They deny three persons in one God. Jesus Christ is not God. And as John says, 1 John, his epistle, he who denies the Father and the Son is the Antichrist. He who denies that Jesus is the Christ is the Antichrist. Muhammad was an Antichrist, not the final Antichrist, but anyone who denies the truth about one God and three persons is an Antichrist. He's an anti-Christian. So Muhammad is anti-Christian in that sense. He believes that, and the Muslims, okay, they believe that Jesus is just a prophet. the prophet is Muhammad. He is the prophet. He's the final prophet. Jesus is just a prophet that came before him. They reverence Jesus. They regard him as like a good man. But you know, they don't believe he died on the cross. I learned this talking to a Muslim when I looked it up. They believe that God switched the face of Judas and put Jesus' face on Judas, and that Judas was crucified because Jesus was a prophet, so a prophet wouldn't have been crucified. Allah would not have allowed this. So Jesus wasn't crucified. So what does that mean? There's no Savior. There's no redemption in the Islam scenario. That's how Christians are converting Muslims today. They're going over in the Muslim lands where you can do this. Usually you'll get killed if you try to propagate Christianity. Because if you convert from Islam to another religion, bless you, you are put to death. The Pope just made an intervention with a woman, a Christian woman, who was pregnant. She was in jail, facing death. He interceded for her. They let her go, basically. But according to the system of Islam, if you convert, you die. And the problem with the Quran is that it's more lenient at the beginning of the Quran and more harsh as the Quran goes on. Because Muhammad started writing before he was in power, he was a little more lenient. But once he became more powerful, that he conquered more lands, the writings got a little more hard lines, like, well, either you convert or die. That's the option that they gave to the Christians, the people who, the ISIS folks who invaded Iraq and Syria, were telling Christians, either you convert or you die. So Christians had to flee. They're not converting to Islam, and they're not going to deny their faith in Jesus Christ. Muhammad, you can even look at it from a reasonable point of view. Muhammad, whether he's a true prophet, and you can look this up. It is in the, I know it was in the Encyclopedia of Islam because I looked this up because someone told me this too, which shocked me. Well, Muhammad said that you can have many wives too. He recommended 6, a limit, if you were a normal person, but if you're a sheikh, you could have many. And that's one of the problems with Osama bin Laden, you see, because Osama bin Laden was one of like 75 or 80 children from a sheikh. He never knew his father. There's a problem with that. Well, anyway, Muhammad, said you can have many children or many wives and numerous children, numerous. And but his youngest wife, guess how old she was?
14 years.
Nope.
13. 8. 7. 6.
6 years old. He consummated the marriage when she was 9. Now, you may call him a prophet. I call him a sexual pervert. I used to prosecute. I'm a former county prosecutor. I prosecuted crimes, sexual abuse against children. In fact, Muhammad's wife accused him. She said, "Well, you seem to be making up things as you go along. That God, Allah told you these things. Whenever it's convenient, like I can take more wives and I can take a girl who's 6 years old and consummate the marriage at 9. Well, I'm sorry, he's not a true prophet. But the Muslims believe this. You can't say anything wrong against Muhammad because he is the prophet. And if you do, it's death to you. That's basically the idea. So they are not a religion of reason. If you want to see this, a good critique of it, someone named Joseph Cardinal Ratzinger, before he was Pope, Benedict XVI, he wrote something called the Regensburg Address. I'll write that here. Regensburg Address. Regensburg is a university in Germany, and he gave an address there. You can Google this, look it up. He was critiquing Islam, saying that the problem with Islam is that Allah as a God is not a God of reason. God can contradict himself, because if you read the Quran, it's self-contradictory. It says one thing, then it says another thing. Well, because Allah can change his will. they focus on the will but not on the reason. Our God is a God at all of the will, but our God is a reasonable God. God doesn't contradict himself. God is consistent, logically, what he has revealed to us. Not the God of Muslims, not the God of Islam. And the Pope, well, before he was Pope, he was critiquing Islam in the Regensburg Address, pointing out the problems that, if you go totally on will, rather than abandoning reason, or abandon reason and go by just whatever God wills, he wills, well, then you end up with a God who is not a reasonable God. And he was, in the Regensburg Address, he quoted some of a dialogue between a Christian back in the Middle Ages and one of the sheiks, I think it was, critiquing the problems with Islam's approach to God. Well, after he gave his Regensburg Address, the Muslims, they ended up killing people, Christians in the streets. How dare you criticize our religion? You can't do this. You can't criticize this, even what criticism is due. So they went on a killing spree. This is, if you Google the Regensburg Address and the effect of it, the fallout from it. And so the Pope kind of, when he became Pope, he didn't really speak out about this again because he was afraid that the Christians in the Muslim lands would be killed in retaliation. And he was just making a reasoned critique of Islam, saying, there are problems with Islam's approach to God and the idea that, convert or die. That's not really, a good way to spread the faith. We as Christians never did this. So, anyway, objective truth versus subjective perception. It's helpful to have a distinction about this in our minds. And tomorrow, I'll give some examples of this. And tomorrow, I'm going to show how historically, in philosophy especially, that bad ideas were put forward. They had a fallout on our modern day thinking. Okay. So that's for tomorrow.